Going live. All right, everybody, we're live. Does he have GiveSmart on that?
Welcome everybody to the first ever Mercy Housing California virtual gala. I hope you're settled in someplace nice and comfortable, maybe have a cold drink in front of you. We've got a great show for you tonight. I've actually been waiting on my life to say that because I have dreams of being a late night talk show host, and this may be as close as I get. But we do have a great show. We have an award tonight for Eric Armstead of the San Francisco 49ers and a special guest appearance by Van Jones. So I think it's going to be a really interesting event, and I thank you for being here. I want to start just by thanking all of our supporters, friends, residents, staff, board. You are what makes this work possible for us, and we appreciate everything you do. It's through your work and your partnership with us that our impact has deepened over the last 40 years. If you're new to Mercy Housing and tonight's the first time you're hearing about us, we want you to walk away tonight with just a couple things, sort of a little bit better understanding of who we are, what we do, and what the change we're trying to make in the world, and hopefully that you want to be part of that. So to begin with, just a little bit about Mercy Housing California. We are part of Mercy Housing, Inc., we're the nation's largest nonprofit housing provider. We operate nationally, over 24,000 affordable homes, and here in California, around 10,000, as you can see from the map behind me. Everywhere from Sacramento to the Bay Area, all the way down to Southern California. And we develop every type of affordable housing you could imagine. We try to serve everyone that lives in our communities, whether that's seniors, families, youth aging out of foster care, veterans, or people trying to get out of homelessness. Given the urgency of the twin epidemics in our state of housing, the housing crisis and the homelessness crisis, we've doubled down on our efforts to create more affordable housing in the state. So whereas we previously used to develop anywhere between 300 to 400 homes per year, we now have a goal of preserving or developing over 800 to 1,000 affordable homes per year. And as we're fond of saying at Mercy Housing California, housing is really just the beginning, because Mercy Housing is really about supporting residents to achieve their goals and dreams, whether it's being the first person in your family to go to college or reuniting with friends and family after years being spent on the street. And our services are very specifically meant to be responsive to residents' needs and dreams. And that ranges on everything from after-school enrichment programs, exercise classes for seniors, youth, housing stability housing stability counseling for people coming in and out of the COVID epidemic or coming out of homelessness, and lots of wonderful local partnerships with groups like local food banks and Boys and Girls Clubs. We are constantly trying to get better at what we do. Given the most recent strategic plan for Mercy Housing, it challenged us to do better on a couple key issues, including climate change, but also racial equity. And that's a big theme tonight, as you know, from the Bridging the Divide theme that we've chosen for us tonight. Our board and staff have really tried to embrace the challenge of today's moment around racial equity by becoming more diverse in our leadership at both the board and staff levels, by asking harder questions about what we do, who we do it for, how we do it, and by really focusing on bringing residents into the center of what we do as an organization and having their voice really center our conversations and our work. So I want to start by acknowledging some of our event sponsors tonight. We couldn't host tonight without the generous support of our sponsors, and we want to acknowledge our presenting sponsor, first and foremost, Salesforce. They are our presenting sponsor, and we really appreciate their support, not just this year, but over the years. A very special thanks to them, but we also have a number of other sponsors tonight who are showing up on your screen: Bullard Construction, Cahill Contractors, Factory OS, Mechanics Bank, Nibby Brothers General Contractors. You can see the list in front of you, as well as our participating sponsors. There's a long list here from the Prado Group, Broward, Wells Fargo, Pacific Coast, Building Products, Hines, Swinnerton, Suffolk, Silicon Valley Bank, BBI Construction, Van Meter Williams and Pollock, Robert Sobiashi, and a number of our board members and supporters, including Adrian Crow, Joanne and Jack Burgess, excuse me, Joanne and Jack, I butchered your last name there, Ellen Jameson, and Bob Malarkey and the Malarkey family. So hopefully I didn't miss any of the folks on that. Apologies if I did, but you've really made tonight possible, and we greatly appreciate it. You can see another slide here of our other contributing sponsors who are making tonight's work possible. So just back to tonight's program, really basic for you. We have a really wonderful set of resident stories. We're going to be presenting the Sister Lillian Award to Eric Armstead of the San Francisco 49ers. Sister Lillian was our longtime CEO and leader. And this is a unique moment for us to present this award to someone outside of our staff and board. And we're also going to be discussing the theme of bridging the divide with Van Jones in a panel that includes myself, our national CEO, Ismael Guerrero, board member, Dr. Monica Soni, and a resident, Shamar Knox. And we chose the Bridging the Divide theme in large part because we think it says something really important about the moment we're in as a country. It says something not just about the moment we're in as a country today, but really also about our history. This is sort of an element of our national history that has always been with us. There's always been multiple American realities based on the color of your skin, your wealth, your citizenship, your gender. But Mercy Housing operates and has always operated from the belief that all people deserve a place to call home, free from violence, hunger, and insecurity, and the opportunity for each new generation to pursue their dreams. And so Mercy Housing provides a bridge for the folks that are homeless, living today under freeways, in homeless shelters and on the street, and the millions more that are overpaying in rent so much that they can't afford basic food or healthcare. So sometimes these bridges that we're talking about tonight are really, truly profound. They're life-giving, like a roof over one's head or PPE and food in the midst of the COVID epidemic. And other times, the bridges that we're talking about are more subtle. They're the kinds of bridges that exist or are created when people develop friendships in our new properties, create new communities across race and language and citizenship in ways that we think are rather profound for the future of our country, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later with Van Jones. We also provide bridges in lots of other types of ways. We use our purchasing power, and we're more and more committed to doing this, to ensuring that we provide economic opportunity to women-owned enterprises, whether it's architecture firms, or African-American, Latino, or Asian-American general contractors, or local businesses of every shape, size, and color. And finally, we also count really on the essential humanity of our residents, the staff, and neighbors of our buildings. And that is really, in many ways, the most profound ways in which Mercy Housing's work bridges the many divides that exist within our country. So we're going to be sharing some of those stories with you tonight. It's a rare opportunity, I think, for all of us. Tonight you're going to meet not just some of the residents, but the bridge builders, the survivors who have persevered despite incredibly long odds, dreamers young and old who have thrived with a helping hand from people like you and us. And so with that, I want to turn it over to our fabulous board member, Christina Garcia, to introduce the first of the resident stories.
Thanks, Doug. Hi, I'm Christina Garcia, a Mercy Housing Board volunteer. You are about to meet Tyreka, a resident of Mercy Housing in Southern California, and Susan, a veteran living in a Mercy Housing home in the Sacramento region, both of whom exemplify the spirit of never giving up. They, and others like them that Mercy supports, are why I'm a donor and a board volunteer.
My name is Tyreka Shelby. I've been living here at Mercy Housing for 4 years. I came to LA from Indiana because of medical reasons. We ended up becoming homeless. Our homelessness started with us coming out here with them friends, and them friends to kind of turning out to be not friends and ended up dropping us off in Skid Row. I had 6 kids with me, 4 of them being my biological children and 2 of them being my grandkids. Living on Skid Row was really rough. I guess I can call it a lifestyle that we had never experienced. We actually ended up being on Skid Row for maybe a year and a half. We ended up staying at the rescue mission. Department of Mental Health ended up putting in a lot of paperwork and helping us out to get us here at Mercy. When we first got our apartment here, management was like, okay, well this is that, showed us around, and she handed us the keys, and I was like, so this is our unit now. She was like, yeah. I said, could you guys step out for a second? And so when they stepped out and stuff, we shut the door and everybody screamed like, ah! So everybody started screaming and stuff. We're jumping around, we're excited. It was so amazing. It was very emotional. You know, we went through so much to get to where we are now. Carolyn Service Center actually have here on the 5th floor on the patio, and I do look out because it's a beautiful sight. It's beautiful up there and I can see the downtown, and it makes you appreciate more. Even the kids appreciate the fact of actually having our own place and having a unit to even move into.
Since Tyreka has been here and since I've been here, I've seen Tyreka grow so much. Tyreka is somebody who is very selfless. She would do for anybody. Tyreka started volunteering to lead some of the programs, knocking on doors for me when I can't, get in touch with some of the residents. So she's always trying to gain knowledge and educate herself to help someone else. And that's where Bridging the Divide really comes into place. Is being able to take what you learn and offer it to somebody else in need.
What Bridging the Divide means to me is to provide a stable place. Not only the stability here, but to offer the mental health services and case management, property management. That stuff here, it helps out, it goes a long way. What I'm thinking about with Mercy and us being here in this community, it's like more of how do I give back? How do I help somebody to get the same way, or have the same thing that I had when I moved in? In the hope of, maybe someday helping Skid Row and offer them different services like a mini Mercy. like a mini Mercy housing to kind of house them and to help them to actually come out of what, help them to relearn, what it's like to live in your own space. My life lesson would be to never give up.
My biggest accomplishment is my recovery, without a doubt. Because without that, nothing else could have happened. There's no way I would make it without the support of Mercy Housing, just because my mental health at the time, from where I had been. The staff that was here when I first came really, really fostered that sense of community. They interacted, they became close to us, they got to know us, they supported us. Because you can give somebody a house, but if you don't support them in their recovery, they're not going to keep it. And you can give somebody recovery, but if you don't give them shelter, how long can that possibly last? At my age, I knew I was bound and determined to get a house. I knew as soon as I got clean and sober, I was going to do it. I was not really ready to buy a house. I am more than content to stay here for a lot longer. But I have an 82-year-old mother. She is not in the best situation. She's not in the best health. So that's why I'm doing it, so I can get her out of this situation. I'm the only one in my family that can do something about it. For me to go from so much time, even including prison, so much time around so many people, and then you just have your place by yourself, it's a drastic change. No matter where I've been, no matter what I've done to myself and put myself through, no matter what somebody else has done to me and put me through, I've always known that I was blessed and knew that I was still capable of more. And every minute, every hour, every day you have a chance to change. If you just stay focused on that, it's gonna happen.
I don't know about you, but every time I watch one of those videos, I'm just kind of amazed by Tyreka and Susan and their strength. And I think probably nothing I could say would do a better job of indicating or just showing you just how powerful the foundation of an affordable place to live is. I know you probably know that to yourself, but watching those videos, I'm just struck by how important it is to have a place to build from. And there aren't a lot of stories like Susan and Tyreka out there, but we're making them every day with you. And if you'd like to sort of continue to help us on this, You should have just received a text on your phone that will tell you how to donate, or you can use the donation form on the side of your screen. I can see right here we're fast approaching $440,000 in gifts, which is an amazing number and really help us continue to do this work. If you didn't receive a text, you can text MHC Bridge to 76278. So that's MHC Bridge to 76278. Okay, that's my short little infomercial, and now I want to introduce another great board member, Kay Fernandez-Smith, to introduce a couple more resident stories.
Thank you, Doug. Hi, I'm Kay Fernandez-Smith, Mercy Housing Board volunteer. Next, you'll meet Larry Jones, a Mercy staff member and longtime resident from the Sunnydale neighborhood of San Francisco, and Lucia and her family from the Sacramento region, who have called Mercy home for 16 years. The work Mercy Housing does to support residents and build bridges across many divides is why I'm a donor and a board volunteer.
So when you know Sunnydale from the 80s and 90s, and you see it now in 2021, you got a different respect for the neighborhood, and you also feel a certain happiness to see it starting to go another way. Growing up in Sunnydale for me was how tough can you be? So they always talked about racial things or how you're gonna always be held down because you were black, and we didn't know what to expect tomorrow. We were always told that we weren't gonna be able to do this, we couldn't do that. You had to be the leader of your family at 8, 9 years old because we had no fathers in the home. We had no programs for big brothers and people that'll come and show a better way. So everybody just had a negative attitude because we had a lot of violence, a lot of plight. We were labeled as a bad place to be. That means not having anywhere to play, not having many friends outside of the people you live around. It led to a stigma that was hard to shake. I decided to work in Sunnydale because I felt as if anything I had to pay back to society was to pay back to a community that I watched go under the ground. When I was finally empowered to realize that I had the smarts and I could do it, as I was told as a kid, you would never be able to do nothing. So when I finally stepped out of that shell and realized my potential, there's no other way to water but my own garden. So I said I need to focus on Sunnydale, and I was part of the problem, and now I'm part of the solution. My role is to make sure that these kids know where everything that they're seeing now came from, so they'll better respect what they have now, and then kind of help them understand who they are. Mercy Housing presented me the window to be here, uplift things that I didn't have a chance. It's like giving back and being happy doing it. And Mercy's doing a good job with people like myself in the community. We have other people from the community out here, and we're just pushing the line. But just being with Mercy and serving Sunnydale is just what I wake up for in the morning. So we gotta appreciate being here with this opportunity to do better. You gotta remember your past to respect your future. The opportunities the hub will provide will broaden all of these kids' lifestyles, and it's gonna mesh cultures, and it's gonna create a safe haven for these kids to have a place to go, to call their own, feel comfortable, for families to be able to showcase things that they would probably be scared to showcase in past environments. And hopefully with the solidarity of the people that'll be housing the thing, it'll just create a fun environment for kids to be happy instead of always being sad, scared, and angry. And I think bridging the divide of this hub and this rebuild and the way these cultures will be mixed up with these children, it'll become a better understanding. It'll become a grace period to where everybody will get to respect each other and just be together, because racism isn't born, it's taught. So when children play at the playground, they don't see color, they see friends. And then mothers will see other mothers and fathers will see other fathers. And that'll bridge the divide right there. That's the biggest divide that I've had to deal with in my lifetime. So looking back and seeing what I see now, there's a lot more hope. The divide is being bridged.
Prior to being at Mercy Housing, all 4 of us were living in a small room inside my family's house. When I was told that they were building Mercy Housing, that they were building these little homes, they told me, to go and see if I qualified. I went and I filled out the paperwork, and I really didn't have my hopes up. And yeah, they did. They took me in, and as soon as we walked in here, the kids just looked at me, and I remember my son's face at the time. He was 6 when we moved in, and he looked at me, he's like, "Mommy, it's ours?" I'm like, "This is ours." So when we walked in and I smelled it smelled new, it smelled like paint. Finally, I have something for me and my kids. What I love the most about our resident service coordinator, Shabila, is how amazing she has been throughout the whole time she's been here, even before the pandemic. During the pandemic, I lost my job and I told her about it. The first words out of her mouth were, "Are you okay?" For her to ask me that when I was at just my most lowest, that's when I really noticed how amazing Mercy Housing is. She kept telling me, "Everything is gonna be okay, Lucy, don't worry, everything is gonna be okay." She told me about the program to help pay for rent, and she signed me up, and it helped with 2.5 months worth of rent. 2.5 months that I could focus on trying to get the kids in a well-being state. Towards the end of the year, like right before Christmas, at the beginning of December, we came down with COVID, all of us. I was like, obviously my husband can't work. I was still on unemployment. And she said, do you have food? And I looked and I'm like, yeah, maybe for this week. She arranged for a grocery delivery to be sent here. And it wasn't just a bag of food. It was 3 full boxes of food. So I opened the door and I just broke down. I was like, oh my God. And she just kept on us with our recovery. And that's why I never want to leave here. I want to stay here forever.
If I were to describe Lucia, she is proactive, she's very supportive, and she's a very good mom. She told me that she found comfort when she came here, and she keeps mentioning that Grizzly Hollow is my home. She keeps mentioning that. I love my job at Mercy because it's not the job itself, it gives me satisfaction. She asked for things and I was able to provide her, like through whatever we could. And I'm very fortunate that we were able to help many residents, and Lucia was one of them. And like building a bridge, you have to know what is on the other side of the bridge. And to reach that bridge, you need that connection. The relationship becomes stronger when you have that trust with the residents and the faith in them.
Okay, well, that's the last of our resident videos for the night, but I hope they touched you in the same way that they did me. It's just an amazing opportunity to hear up close, you know, what happens when somebody is able to move into a Mercy Housing property, and the support and the connections that get made between Mercy Housing staff and residents, and the role really that residents play in really driving, you know, what happens at our properties and what they're doing with their lives. So again, there's for your convenience, there's a donation form on the left side of the screen that you can use at any point tonight. If you're so inclined, or if you haven't given already, please feel free to donate more. We could definitely use the support, and you can see exactly what types of great services and connections it goes for. So with that, I want to pivot now. We're going to present the Sister Lillian Murphy Housing Justice Award to Eric Armstead, and to do that, I introduce our board chair, Janet Ruggiero of Woodland, California.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you to those who are supporting our work tonight through your generous donations. Hi, I'm Janet Ruggiero, board chair of Mercy Housing, California, and it is my honor to present tonight the Sister Lillian Murphy Housing Justice Award. Sister Lillian Murphy was a visionary with a keen eye towards housing justice. Her skill, passion, and heart for service led Mercy Housing for over 30 years as CEO before she passed away in 2019. We will forever celebrate her legacy to the community, to the affordable housing industry, and to the residents of Mercy Housing. We are proud tonight to present this award to someone who embodies the spirit of justice in all the ways it is manifest. To a fellow Sacramento native and a humanitarian who launched the Armstead Academic Project Foundation to help level the educational playing field for youth in Sacramento, while himself thriving on the football playing field as an All-Pro for the San Francisco 49ers. This year's Sister Lillian Murphy Housing Justice Award goes to Eric Armstead.
What inspires my work in the community is I believe in humanity, and that we're all here on this earth together So why not make it a better place for each other and make it a better place for the younger generations? When I was sitting down and thinking about how I can have the biggest impact on my community, education was glaring. I think education is the key to solving a plethora of social injustice in our country. And they can go into college or go on to get a career and provide for themselves and raise educated kids, and that really corrects a lot of the injustices in our country. And when you think about the social and economic differences, the wealth gap in our country, the education gap, that led me to founding the Armstead Academic Project when I was thinking about all these things and really not seeing how your zip code can determine the level of education you receive. And I didn't think that was fair, and I wanted to make a difference. And I really think that I learned how to serve others from my family and from my parents. I think it was instilled in me at a young age, and also growing up in the church and learning about Jesus and how he served others. Me and my family used to do community things together. I remember one Christmas, instead of us getting around the Christmas tree and opening up presents, we decided that year that we were going to go to a homeless shelter and feed people that Christmas and serve others. So as I've grown into being an adult, just in having the resources and platform that I do now, it's an even bigger part of what I believe in and what I do. In 2021, I'm just going to try to find more creative ways to help people and help young people especially pique their interest in education and keep them motivated in school, and hopefully pique their interest in what they want to do later on in life with their future. Dropping off some Chromebooks, some hotspots for the internet so they can connect online and finish their school. And they're going to partake in a summer learning program. So it'd be great for them to have the technology they need to be successful.
Thank you. Lila, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for my education.
No
There's
problem,
a lot of
man.
kids around this world that don't have any Chromebooks.
I have ideas all the time of how to serve people and help our students, and people always rally behind me and are there supporting me, and I can't do anything on my own of any magnitude. So definitely need people to believe in the things I'm trying to bring attention to, which is equity in our public education system. And if I'm able to convey that message to people effectively and bring them on and rally around those messages, that's great. Serving is an amazing feeling for me personally, to inspire others and give to others and help others, and working with students in education, something as simple as a hospital visit, it really puts things into perspective, the type of influence that I have and how I can use that for positive change. I love seeing the smiles on all the kids' faces. They're always super impressed by how tall I am, and so just being a tall person can make a kid smile or make them make it a cool experience for them. So it's not complicated to do. It's just you have to want to do it, and it's fun for me. I feel very blessed to be in the position I am in life, and wanting that for other people and to see other people succeed as well. My dream for Sacramento is I want a thriving city that is inclusive to everyone who lives here, with endless opportunities. I want young people here to feel like they have opportunities and they can become successful here, benefit and add to society. My name is Eric Armstead, and I want to thank Mercy Housing for giving me this year the Sister Lillian Murphy Award. It's a huge honor, and I'm greatly appreciative for it, so thank you.
Wow. So that was only about a year ago that we filmed that giveaway with Eric Armstead. But I mean, this has been such a weird year. I honestly feel like I'm watching something from a decade ago. But Eric has been incredible during the COVID epidemic, or the COVID pandemic. I should at least know that phrase at this point. He's been here throughout and been an incredible donor. We're planning on lots of other great things with Eric and his efforts up there in Sacramento. So again, thanks to Eric. I can see a lot of new donors coming in, or not new donors, but new gifts coming in. Our former CEO, Jane Graff, with an incredibly generous donation, and our former coworker, Val Agostino, one of our great architects, Gonzalo Castro, and Michael Rios up in Sacramento making a lovely, generous gift. So I want to just thank all those folks who are continuing to give. We appreciate whatever it is that you can do. We are up to $451,874, which is incredible, and will go a long way towards helping us with the work that we're trying to do here at Mercy Housing. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Suzanne DiBianca from Salesforce, tonight's presenting sponsor, and she is going to introduce the one and only Van Jones.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Suzanne DiBianca, and I'm the Chief Impact Officer here at Salesforce. I'm so thrilled to be here with you tonight and be a presenting sponsor of the event. This event is especially important to me as I've been a huge fan of Mercy Housing for many years. For 40 years, Mercy has been at the forefront of bringing stable, affordable homes to families, seniors, veterans, and people who were formerly homeless. I personally know some people who have benefited from their housing and services. Putting residents at the center of their work continues to be the cornerstone of Mercy Housing's mission. I was first introduced to Mercy back in the early days of standing up the Salesforce Foundation over 20 years ago. We partnered together to develop after-school technology centers in schools, community centers, and some of their locations around San Francisco to provide access to digital tools to students who otherwise would not have had access to them. It's been an incredible honor to watch Mercy grow. Their impact and community just keeps getting stronger and stronger. We're very happy that you're viewing this event tonight to help ensure that residents can imagine all that is possible. From experiencing homelessness to having a stable home, from feeling isolated to being part of a bigger community, and from struggling in high school to becoming a first-generation college graduate. Together, we can bridge these divides and further the mission of Mercy Housing to create stable, vibrant, and healthy communities for people in need. The theme of tonight's event, Bridging the Divide, has never been more relevant. In many ways, it's been a heartbreaking year, a year that has shown us time and time again that those with the least often bear the greatest burdens, whether that's a global health crisis, a racial injustice crisis, or a climate crisis. But we've also seen vital organizations like Mercy really step up and show us what true community impact, leadership, and compassion looks like. The conversation that you're about to hear is how we can all work together to bridge the divides and gaps that Mercy Housing residents and so many others throughout this nation confront on a daily basis. From income inequality to the accessibility of technology, to resources for education and career advancement, and maintaining good health and wellness. So I now have the great honor to introduce our very special guest and my dear friend, Van Jones, CNN host and founder of Dreamcore. Van was an early foundation board member for Salesforce, who really has truly inspired me and who we are today. And at Salesforce, we've had the incredible privilege to have Van speak at some of our biggest events, both internally and externally. He has spent over 25 years working for criminal justice reform and equality to ensure that justice is served and people's lives are improved. He provides a platform for tough conversations to help heal our country's deep divides. I couldn't think of a better person well-suited to speak about how we can all seize this moment to drive positive change, inspire dreams, and bridge the walls that divide us. Without further ado, I'm honored to introduce the one and only Van Jones.
Hey, thank you so much. Those very, very kind words. You and I have been together for a long time, since the early days of Salesforce, as you pointed out. I just want to take a few minutes to say how appreciative I am to be a part of this event and to be a part of what you're doing. It doesn't matter how low you start out in life. What matters is how strong is your springboard and how hard do you hit it? How strong is the springboard and how hard do you hit it? And, for me, I've been on TV and stuff like that, but the Bay Area was my springboard. The Bay Area is my springboard. I was born in rural West Tennessee. I went to school on the East Coast, but I moved. My adult life started in 1992 when I moved to the Bay Area, working as an intern for Eva Patterson at the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. And it was the year of Rodney King and that whole discussion about police brutality and unlawful police violence. And I saw things in the Bay Area that I'd never seen. I saw people from so many different backgrounds, every kind of human being ever born. You can meet on a bus or a BART train in the Bay Area. Every faith, every race, every gender expression, every sexuality expression, every kind of human being ever born, living in one region and mostly getting along. And yet still faced with tough problems. In the Bay Area, unlike any other place, it is impossible to solve a tough problem without bringing people together who don't all look the same, who don't all pray the same, who don't all speak with the same accent, who don't have all the same origin story, but who can somehow find a way to be in a quest together to make a difference. In the 1990s, when I was a young activist running around, we didn't have the Black Lives Matter as a slogan. We didn't have the Dreamers, but we had the same fights. We built INS Watch. Back in those days, the immigration police were called INS. We built Police Watch. We built Books Not Bars to go after the youth prison system. And we stopped the super jail from being built. We got a couple of bad cops off the force in San Francisco. We challenged the Oakland Police Department. But why were we able, even as young people in the Bay Area, why were we able to make such a difference? It was because we learned how to bring people together who were very different from each other. When I was growing up in rural West Tennessee, it was just white Protestants and black Protestants, and we fought all the time. You usually had two groups, black folks, white folks, all Protestant, mostly Baptist, fighting all the time. I got to the Bay Area, you got 37 different languages spoken in the public school system. And you got to know, kids from the Philippines, they don't speak Spanish, they speak Tagalog. A kid who's Persian is Muslim, but not Arab. A kid from Ethiopia speaks Amharic. Like, that's just baseline. If you don't know that stuff, you can't get nothing done. So you have to basically be a United Nations level a diplomat just to be able to have a community meeting. Do not underestimate how important that is, how rare that is, how valuable that is. And that forging in the fire of having to find the common ground, common pain should lead to common purpose. And that's what you're seeing. All these videos you just saw, everybody didn't look the same. Everybody wasn't the same background, but they had common pain, and then they were able to find some common purpose. And now we have this common project of trying to get people housed with dignity, get people housed with honor and security. And you see those dreams being realized, but nobody looks the same in the meetings. This is the great just miracle of the Bay Area. And I think people who live there take it for granted. I left the Bay Area, I went to Washington, D.C. It was like getting in a plane and flying backwards in time. Even under the Obama administration, so many of the things that we had already resolved and solved in California. Again, when I left the Bay Area in 2009, marriage equality hadn't been declared by the Supreme Court. That was still controversial. So many things that had long been resolved, that we had moved on in the Bay Area. And so what I'll say is this, and I'll say it again. You have an unbelievable springboard in this organization. Unbelievable springboard that is helping so many people and doing it with such beauty and such dignity. Anybody who has an opportunity to strengthen that springboard financially, economically, so that it is strong enough to keep letting people propel themselves up to their dreams, I think we have a responsibility to do it. It's not just an opportunity. I think we have a responsibility to do it, and let that example be an example to the rest of the country. There is no way when some of the stuff I've been able to do, we've been able to pass through the Dream Corps, we've been able to pass bipartisan criminal justice reform bills in, I think, 19 states, including places like Mississippi and Louisiana, Georgia, tough places. No way I would have been able to lead a team that could do that if I hadn't been in the Bay Area working across difference, for those 10 or 15 years I was in the Bay Area. I remember when Gavin Newsom was just an old city council member, board of supervisors member, and we used to go protest him and all those crazy days. And he got forged in the fire of the Bay Area. Kamala Harris got forged in the fire of the Bay Area. And these great leaders that are out there. So you have no idea who you are helping when you give money to support this organization. You have no idea. So many great people, so many great artists, political leaders, and others have risen out of the Bay Area and have gone on to do such great things. So please strengthen this springboard. And I'm happy to be and proud to be a part of that effort.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ismael Guerrero, President and CEO of Mercy Housing, and I'm excited to be joining you tonight from Denver, Colorado. Van, thank you for sharing those inspiring words and for sharing your story with us tonight. And now we've invited some distinguished guests to join me in a conversation with Van. Let me introduce them first, and then we each get to ask Van a question. We have Shamar Knox joining us from Sacramento, one of our youth residents. And I hear he's an avid blogger and loves to play golf. So welcome, Shamar. Dr. Monica Soni, MD, is joining us from Los Angeles. And she is a member of the board of Mercy Housing California. So welcome, Monica. And you've already met Doug Shoemaker, the president of Mercy Housing California. So welcome, everybody. I get to kick us off with the first question. So Van, we all know that a safe and stable home is a precious thing for a child, for children, and for adults alike. So can you share with us what did home mean to you, and how did it shape who you are today?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can't hear me. Can you hear me? No. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, looks like we can hear you now.
Okay, good. All right. So sorry about that. What does a home mean to me?
Yes.
My father was born in rural poverty, in real poverty, in a place called Orange Mound, Memphis, which at that time was like one of the biggest black ghettos in the South. And he had put himself through college by first going to the military, and he put himself through the military, put himself through college. The first house that he was able to purchase, he was so proud. We were 5 years old. We had been living essentially with at the benefit, by the benefit of relatives. And he bought his first house. He and my mother, they both had become school teachers. And my father would just walk around and say, "Look, we have a front yard and a backyard." That was just, we have a front yard and we have a backyard. And then he would open up the refrigerator and he would say, "Look, he would say, this refrigerator has never been empty. There's always been food in this refrigerator." Now, of course, we were kids. We're like, duh, like everybody we know has a refrigerator with food in it and a front yard and backyard. But for my father, that was such a huge, huge deal. And, when I look back, so many people in my family who also grew up in poverty, like my father, he was the older kid, the older cousin. So many of them got out of poverty on this bridge called my father's back, because he was constantly reaching back and helping them. And then they could see what he achieved. There's something about owning a house or having a home that's a good home, it's a solid home. It doesn't have to be a mansion, just a good, solid home. It gives people a sense of dignity and a sense of place. And from there, you can go on and build. So I'll always thank my parents for being able, finding a way to give me and my sister a good home.
Great, thank you. And Shamar is going to have the next question if he's ready. Shamar?
I'm not Shamar, but I can go.
Hello, Mr. Jones. My question for you is,
wait, I can't hear you.
How do you feel the last year and a half under COVID has impacted racial injustice negatively or positively?
I can't hear him. Hello, hello. I could not hear your question, brother. Can anybody hear me talking? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you repeat your question?
Okay. Hello, Mr. Jones. My question for you is, how do you feel the last year and a half under COVID has impacted racial injustice negatively or positively?
Well, that's a great question. And it really has impacted it in both directions. On the one hand, I think that, African Americans and other people of color taking so much of a beating by the virus, by the lockdowns, it really exposed that what we had was a pandemic jumping on top of a bunch of pre-existing epidemics, an epidemic around obesity and other lack of good public health outcomes in our community, an epidemic of having jobs where we didn't have enough protection from unsafe working conditions. Suddenly we're essential workers, but we weren't essential when we were trying to get minimum wage increases. We weren't essential when we were trying to get basic job protection. But now suddenly we're essential when we have to be on the front lines taking all the risks. And so a lot of negative stuff was exposed. At the same time, because people were forced to take a step back from normal life, when almost a year ago George Floyd was murdered, there was a captive audience, a global captive audience that could not easily turn away and easily ignore the 8-9 minutes of horrifying video. And that changed things. So people will look back at the breakdown with regard to racial justice, but they can also, I think, look at what I think is now a breakthrough. More talking than changing of laws. The conversation has changed more than the laws have changed. But that's important. The conversation changing is important. And there's, I think, a big chance in the Bay Area in particular to take this upswing in consciousness on racial justice, on gender justice, ecology, environment, climate change, all of these positive consciousness points that are swinging up, mainly driven by your generation. If that can intersect with some of these new technologies that are coming on board, a lot of it being driven in the Bay Area. You got everything from cryptocurrency, the race for Mars, climate solutions, solar panels, biotech, all this stuff is coming on. These are trillion-dollar industries that are getting seeded and growing. If you can take that upswing in economic opportunity and combine that with this upswing in social consciousness, you could have a very different future where people in your generation, young people of color in your generation, are building technology companies that are making a tremendous difference, making money for yourselves, but also creating more products, more services, really creating a better future. That's available. I'm not saying the bad stuff's not happening, but it's also possible where you are right now to take the most diverse generation, yours, in the most diverse part of the country where you are, and cross-section that with the technology industry and get a beautiful new future out of it. So a lot more is possible now than was possible a year ago. Good.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right. Well, it's good to be with you. You know, in the past, you said that it's more trendy and fashionable for people to be celebrated for conflict rather than healing. There's been so much pain in the Black community that has not been accompanied by justice. How do we move to this culture of empathy without that justice?
Well, it may not be possible to do it without the justice. But what I do know is there's always a danger that we become what we're fighting. That's the danger. That we get so good at defining what we're against, anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobia, anti. That we get so good at defining what we're against, that what we're against starts to define us. And we can almost exist outside of this battle. And I don't want to feed what I'm fighting. I don't want to become what I'm fighting. I want to hang on to my own humanity somehow, even in the midst of this stuff. And it's a quest. It's not an answer. I don't know how. But it's a quest. It's a value that I have that I hold on to, and a lot of it comes, from my faith. The young man who was talking about how tall he was or whatever. He also mentioned that he grew up in the church, and all institutions have their good points and their bad points. So I'm not praising any institution uncritically. But what I will say is that there's something in Black church tradition that you could reduce all of Black theology, Black womanist theology, you could reduce all of that to 2 words. Hallelujah, anyhow. Hallelujah, anyhow. I don't care what you do to me. You're not going to take my joy. You're not going to take my humanity. I don't care what. We are going to be us. We are going to be children of the Most High. We are going to celebrate. We're going to dance. We're going to shout. We're going to sing. I just don't want us to have that taken from us in the process of fighting for justice. And there's something about holding on to that divine joy that I think gives us an ability to hold people accountable and at the same time hold people. That's the dance. How do you hold people and at the same time hold people accountable? And then look, some folk being held accountable means going to jail. The Derek Chauvin under the jail. I mean, I'm not that kumbaya. You know what I mean? If you're up there tearing up the Capitol and killing police officers and stuff like that, under the jail. I'm not that kumbaya. But so many of the people who have gone to jail shouldn't be in jail. These are crimes of addiction, crimes of poverty, crimes of just being young and dumb. And when I was at Yale, I graduated from Yale Law School. I taught at Princeton. I was a fellow at MIT. I saw privileged white kids do dumb stuff all the time. Saw them doing drugs, saw them fighting each other. They didn't go to jail. Nobody even called the cops. And so that empathy that we have for that poor kid who gets in trouble and doesn't have the opportunity that the rich kid who got in trouble got. I don't want to make my heart so small that I only care about that one circumstance. If I can get my heart to be bigger and bigger, I want to get it bigger and bigger. But look, justice matters. I mean, we can't just sit up here and be brutalized, mistreated, and have no justice, no opportunities, and just sing kumbaya. But our humanity matters too. And I want to make sure that we stay human in this whole process of trying to get free.
Thank you.
Hey, Van, how are you?
I'm
you
good.
Hear me okay? Good. Hey,
Yes.
I just want to take off on that last point you made around empathy. And, it's been said, it's been noted by a lot of different observers that we sort of increasingly live apart from each other. We live in communities and we watch news programs or news stations that really fundamentally just reinforce our existing beliefs. And so, we're here tonight talking about this theme of bridging the divide. And I'm interested to hear your thoughts on sort of how important is it for us to overcome that division if we're going to solve some of these larger problems, like you've mentioned criminal justice, homelessness, you name it. And then maybe just as a last thought is, what's the role of nonprofit groups like Mercy Housing in that effort?
Well, Mercy Housing is a crossroads, by definition. You have wealthy, powerful folks like the folks at Salesforce, and you have people who are just trying to get, a foot out of the, worst situation they've ever been in their whole lives and coming out of so that's medicine. Just spiritually, socially, having organizations where people who, on a cross race, cross class, cross everything basis can work together to do good stuff. I think it's really important. We're up against a lot. Part of what goes on is, you mentioned the news programs and stuff like that. I agree that I think sometimes we do more dividing than bringing folks together. But these devices are divisive. These apps, the algorithm, they don't do what they are supposed to do. You think you're getting information from that app, but you're not. You're just getting endorphins. That algorithm is designed to give you what you want to see, not what you need to see. Based on your history, what have you liked, what have you shared, what have you commented on? They're going to keep giving you that so that you get a little brain tickle of joy and satisfaction, even if it's pushing you toward being in QAnon. It doesn't matter. The algorithm is indifferent to wisdom. We have a lot of data, very little wisdom. And so we have to be very careful with these devices, because if you remember back in the day, back in the 30s, Orson Welles pulled a little trick called War of the Worlds. And he got on the radio and he started reading a script, acting as if Martians were invading the Earth. And that time, radio was like, it was new. It was like TikTok or Instagram. I mean, that was where people were. I mean, that was the thing. And then all of a sudden, here comes this stuff about Martians invading. People killed themselves. There were riots. We don't look back on those people and say, oh, those stupid people. We say, hey, we have pity for those people, because if your information system gets tweaked, you will go with your information system. If your media system gets tweaked, you will go with your media system, even if it's completely divorced from reality. Well, all of us are slightly in that War of the Worlds scenario, because your phone is going to show you a lot more racial justice stuff than it's going to show your cousin who doesn't care about those issues. And so your cousin might wind up in QAnon, but you might also begin to think that white police officers kill black people every 20 minutes. Which is, they kill too many, but not at that rate. And so now everybody's in a slightly different world from just pure reality. And so that means we really have to work harder to know each other and to reach out to each other and to have some patience with each other, because, if you're in a completely different movie than me, the chances of us being able to communicate very well at first are kind of low. But the payoff, what I can say for sure, I've got friends on the right and friends on the left in a time when it's very hard to do that, is my ability to deliver for people who have nothing in places like Mississippi and Georgia and Louisiana and Appalachia is heightened by the fact that I'm at least willing to engage. I'm at least willing to sit down and have the conversation. I'm willing to breathe and drop my diaphragm and then afterwards talk to my therapist, but I'm willing to at least have the conversation. And we have to multiply friends for people who don't have anything, or who don't have anything materially. People have everything creatively and spiritually, but materially, people who don't have anything materially and economically, we don't do them any service by multiplying enemies. So much of what I lament about our progressive sisters and brothers is we've developed a culture of multiplying enemies, canceling this and calling this out or whatever. And it feels good and righteous in the moment, but over time, what happens is we've multiplied enemies as opposed to multiplying friends. I've never met a single person who I didn't have at least one thing in common with. I've never met a single person who I didn't have at least one thing in common with. Let's start with that one thing and then go from there. Let's not always worry about who like me. Are you left wing like me? Are you black like me? Let's answer the question, do you like me? Not are you like me, but do you like me? And do I like you? And can I find something in you that I like? Even if we vote against each other, even if we pray differently, can I find something in you that I like? And can I hold on to that? Because I can hold on to that in you, I can hold on to something beautiful in me. And that gives us the ability to get things done for the people who really need something to get done. And so that's my, I don't trust these devices. You're just as brainwashed and just as misled on some issues as some of the people who you fuss and fight with in your family. And be open to that. And let's put the people who really need us to get together first.
Thank you. Ismail, I think it's back over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Van. This has already been a great conversation. And so I have one last question for you tonight to close us out. You've been an advocate for and an actor in racial justice movements throughout your career. And so as we turn the corner on this disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're witnessing more broad support for racial justice issues, what are you most optimistic about for the future, for the next 4 years? And what troubles you the most?
Well, the next 4 years is too short a time frame, I think. On a decade basis, looking out 10 years, between, as I said before to the young man, between biotech, cryptocurrency, climate solutions, frankly, cannabis, there's a whole bunch, which is not my thing, but it is other people's thing. There's a whole bunch of industries that are going to, 10 years from now, be massive. The race for Mars, massive, that are still just really beginning to take off. And if some of these young people of color and young women and other people who might not ordinarily be in the driver's seat for those industries, if they go, hey, hold on a second, I want to be a part of this. You're not going to Mars without me. You're not going to, dethrone the US dollar with, digital currencies without me. You're not going to switch from oil and coal and fossil fuels to a whole different energy system without me. Because every one of those things represents millions and billions and trillions of dollars of economic opportunity. If we can focus on that, not just worrying about our lack of equal protection from the bad stuff. That's important. Racial justice means equal protection. So when we don't have equal protection from bad cops, and we don't have equal protection from the criminal justice system, we don't have equal protection from COVID, we don't have equal protection from voter suppression. When we don't have equal protection, that's an issue. But don't get so focused on worrying about the lack of equal protection that we don't also seek equal opportunity and equal access to the good stuff. It's a trap to only focus on equal protection from the bad stuff, because all that does is get you to zero. If you can get the cops off of you, if you can get the bad stuff, then now you're at zero. But somebody else is going to 1 billion. How do we get our young people focused on the opportunity that is coming as the technology changes everything? That is where I think my hope lies. And in 4 years, who knows what's going to happen? We may have Trump again. I don't know. But on a decade basis, is cryptocurrency going to be bigger or smaller? Bigger. On a decade basis, are climate solutions, solar, energy efficiency, batteries, electrical vehicles, are they going to be more or less? More. Biotech, are we going to have, more information about how to make the human body work optimally and be against disease or less? More. So let's go where things that are positive are growing and bring our magic and genius and soul and creativity to those spaces. And then I think we will have we'll be in a better position on a decade basis.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Van. It's always so great to hear sort of the positive part of your message. I think back to, I first heard you when you were back at the Ella Baker Center back in the early 90s. You look remarkably the same, actually, even though the rest of us have aged. But I don't hate you a lot for that. I'm trying to find the part of you that
makeup.
I like. Is it okay? Can you send me the name of your makeup artist, because I didn't get the same.
That I will do.
All right, great.
Thank you.
So I want to thank all our panelists, Dr. Soni, Shamar, Ismail, Van Jones. Van, Shamar's agent wanted me to let you know that he's available if you want him on the show at some future point. I mean, he's he's ready. I mean,
That's
I know
awesome.
you want him in biotech, but I think he's ready for CNN anytime soon.
That's good. We'll take him. We can get him.
All right. Well, I think, get him now while he's cheaper, I think is what I would say, So, all right.
Exactly.
Well, in any event, thank you so much, Van. We really appreciate everything you've done and all the work you do nationally, not just as a correspondent, but as an activist. So this is my time to wrap it up. I just want to thank everybody, all the sponsors that we've talked about, the donors. We're up to $463,000 given so far. You can see it behind me now. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for your support of tonight's event and the work that we do. We're going to leave you with a blessing that we're very fond of here at Mercy Housing, and hopefully it will mean something to you as well.
May God bless you with discomfort and easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you will live deep in your heart.
May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people and the earth, so that you will work for justice, equity, and peace.
May God bless you with the tears to shed for those who suffer, so you will reach out your hand to comfort them and change their pain to joy.
And may God bless you with the foolishness to think that you can make a difference in the world, so that you will do the things which others say cannot be done.